Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is now the 5th day of the London Build Station, the final day of the first week. I'm lucky enough to be joined by the incredible grand champions of the last Colosseum, Bill and Adam, founders of Unruggable. This is a really cool story of how they even became grand champions, 2 honorary mentions, then won it, and then went in again and got into the accelerator, which was like pretty epic story. Before we dive into everything around that, like we've got some of the Unruggable devices here, which are awesome. People can pre-order the dev units now and be able to get the chance on those when they get shipped later this year. But I want to dive into you guys' stories. So Bill, you can introduce yourself, tell me a little bit about yourself, Adam, a little bit yourself, and then we can then go into a little bit deeper.
Hi guys, my name's Bill. My background, so I was an engineer by trade. That was what I did at university. And then I did a PhD in computational fluid dynamics, so bit of like ignition and fire and things. And then I found Solana and just crypto in general. Crypto was significantly easier than what I was doing in my PhD, just the white papers. Tried Solana, it was kind of the only crypto that I thought like worked or like I could see potential there, right? And that got me kind of Solana pilled, right? So I kind of had to transfer over the dev skills, so obviously PhD, I'm a bit old now, you can see from the hair, 30 nearly. But back then we didn't have AI, so moving into crypto, kind of upskilling myself into from, being a scientific researcher into being a blockchain developer, right? So relearning some Rust, learning the front ends. And then with AI kind of accelerating, that's really helped like the learning experience and it's let me branch out. So yeah, been working on Solana for 5 years. We're here to talk with Cap about Colosseum entries. So yeah, Unruggable's 2 people, myself and Adam, and Adam will introduce himself now.
I'm Adam. I call myself the generalist of Unruggable. I don't really have a defined term. I kind of just do everything to let Bill work on the product. So my role is basically everything. I've been on Solana for about 5 years. Before Solana, I was doing Web 2 enterprise sales. So I used to sell Cisco Meraki infrastructure to Somerset House. Was one of the clients, actually. Interesting. We did their wireless for them. Found crypto in 2017, back when I was at university. Did the classic Coinbase buy at the top and then lose all my money. Came back in 2020, and Bill was actually the person that onboarded me to Solana back in 2021. So I was on Ethereum. I DM'd Bill saying he was tweeting about Solana all the time. So I DM'd him asking, how does it work? Like, I keep seeing you tweet about Solana. I held some at the time, but I didn't actually use the chain. And he helped me set up a wallet, helped me mint my first NFT, and then literally ever since then we've been working together. So we met through X, which is kind of crazy that now we're sitting here. But yeah, been working on Solana ever since, and now we're doing Unruggable for the last 2 years.
I love that. Well, can we stay on that for a second about like how you guys met and like then was able to like co-founder journey in that, where I think it's so important for everyone who's building out the project. Like, how do you find the team that you're going to work with, especially those very first few people? Like, it's so impactful. It's literally your make or break a lot of time. Like, so how did you guys find that experience, like from the initial discovery to then deciding to work together, and like how that just all came about?
I think ours was slightly different because we didn't go into it wanting to work together. Yeah. So when we first, this is back in 2021, before Solana startups were really a thing, and it was literally just an NFT chain. So I think the reason that we ended up working is because we became friends, and then Bill had an idea, and he was like, "Hey, I've got this really cool idea. Do you want to do the marketing for it?" Because I was posting on X and doing quite well on my personal account, and he saw that, and then he had this really cool idea that he wanted to market. We did a few things that didn't really they didn't work out, but they weren't like scalable. Mm-hmm. And also it was for what Solana was at the time, which was literally just an NFT chain. And it's kind of, changed into what it is now. Yeah, but you can go for it if you want.
Yeah, so again, I don't think if you go in trying to find a co-founder like with a purpose, you could like say it's like dating, right? When you're looking, you don't find, and when you're not looking, you do find. So yeah, with us, it started with the NFTs and kind of just bouncing ideas back and forth for 3 to 4 months. And, we had a bear market. We both stuck around during a bear market, which is a really good indicator. And then there were other things where, I don't need another technical co-founder. So being able to kind of split your responsibilities and have people who are, again, you hear the A player word come around, right? Like A players high rate. at the end of the day, it's can you get the things done and can you be professional? Which in crypto sometimes I think we do lack sometimes, right? Like I'm
What do you
sitting
mean? There's no degens here.
But I think the important thing is finding a co-founder that can like oppose your strengths and can also have the, like Adam's not technical, but he can challenge me on applications of technical things. And it creates a very good synergy where I say this to technical people now, right? I've got a PhD. I spent like 6 months coding in this really complicated cryptography. No one cares, right? Your user just sees what they see at the end. So I've done all this really hard work. And what I needed was someone to come in like Adam and be like, look, Bill, we need to make this thing simple. It needs to work for your non-technical person. Because when you become a developer, you forget that this is acquired knowledge that not a lot of people have. So I think the most important thing for co-founders is find someone you can work with, that you can get on with. It should start from a business relationship. I don't co-found because you're friends and now you want to do business. That's a bad recipe. You want to start business partners and then become friends as it grows into it, hopefully with success. And then find someone that's got a different skill set than you, because if you've got the same skill sets, then they're not really going to help, I think. So, yeah.
I think, just to add to what Bill said, I think it's just because we come from such different viewpoints of Bill's very, very technical. I'm very not technical. And that's why it works so well because, like, for example, with our new, iteration of where Unruggable is, the original concept was very complicated and it didn't work very well. And I said to Bill, I was like, I wouldn't even use this product. And I'm on the team. So we kind of then pivoted to where it is now. And I think what Bill does is he creates the product and I kind of try and direct it in a way where it's really, really simple and easy to use. Because that's my viewpoint on things is I don't really care much. I don't care about how Bill codes stuff in. Like Bill might do something for 2 weeks. That is like the hardest development thing that you can possibly do. And I don't care. I just want it to work well and look good. So I come from a very different point of view. And I think that's why we work well together as a team.
And it's 100% what you need. You need those both two sides because what you mentioned about the first version being in the command line, like it was a very niche space. But it's also probably like a good transition into like that journey of Unruggable there. Of like how it very much began from that very technical backgrounds, but then it evolved. And like, I think that was really the story that you guys created with the Colosseum submissions, going into 4 of them and having them that consistent evolution each time. 2 honorary mentions, then a win, and then being able to then get the Grand Championship and go into the accelerator. Like that was also seen in the product, but I think it'll be useful for people to hear that where most people think about with these startup competitions and everything like that is like, well, I go in once and if I don't do it, I don't win. But ultimately, Colosseum are a fund. They're looking for best startups that they can invest into, and they see this just as like their lead generation into then the fund. And so having then that persistent growth and showcasing how you was able to develop it each time is a really good way to kind of show them that you're somebody who is consistent building and that they can invest into. And you guys, I think, are like a flagship story for that. So why don't you just talk for everyone like how that journey came about with the initial product, like even the idea, and then how it evolved over then those 4 competitions.
So just for the San Francisco VCs that want the personal trauma and the story, we got rugged by FTX. I think a lot of people are in the same situation. So the motivation behind Unruggable came with FTX, right? One of the cardinal sins is greed. So Bill back in the day looked at it and went, ooh, on-chain I can get 6% on staked Sol. FTX is giving me 10%. That 4% is big. So we staked with FTX, and then when the rumors came out, the instant unstake charged 10%, and I was like, I'm not giving SBF 10% of my Sol. He ended up taking all of it, but yeah. And the goal behind that really and what informed it was I wanted somewhere that I could self-custody my assets and do what I wanted and feel secure with it, right? And at that point, right, this is way back, Phantom was still brand new. We were still using Solid. It was still an evolving ecosystem. Ledger had basically 0 support. Solana was like an afterthought for every hardware wallet. And that's why I didn't use a hardware wallet back then. And that's where Unruggable came in. So FTX happened, we came up with the idea, we kind of saw traction from people that we talked to. We're like, okay, this is something worth going to a hackathon. And that takes us into Colosseum, which I think is where we want to go through. So the first thing, and I think what I would say to anyone entering Colosseum now, is to separate like your personal entry from the outcome. Like when I had my first entry, Adam knows, I thought I thought we should have won, right? Again, it was a CLI wallet. Looking back at it now, it definitely shouldn't have won, but I was so emotionally invested, I couldn't separate that mentally, right? And you've got to say to yourself, like, going into it, I thought, okay, this is a hackathon, right? We're just trying to vibe, like, get some hacks out, whatever it is. It's not. It's a startup competition, and that is, startups are the most competitive industry in the world, right? It's more competitive than professional sports leagues, right? There's way more money at stake. The outcomes are way bigger. So that would be what I would say is the first big learning we had from the first one, where, again, the honorable mention is probably what kept us going, because it was like, right, the idea is good, guys, but you haven't done enough to validate funding it or giving you any kind of prize. But the idea is solid, it's worth a mention, and people seem to like it. One of the other things I mentioned just on that first iteration or first entry, very quickly, it was a USB flash drive. You'd plug it in, you'd reboot your computer, and then you'd have this terminal developer thing, like an ATM, and you'd press buttons to use a wallet. It was unusable, right? Straight up. Like, we tested, no one could use it, right? Because no one wants to reboot a computer. And then we lost, like, because it's a startup competition, not a hackathon. You look at the markets, right? The USB didn't work on an iPhone or Android, and it didn't work on MacBooks. So now you've lost, 90% of your crypto users? So dead in the water, right? Could have been the best tech ever, but just no market. The one thing we did see was we had 1 day of outage when Solana went down. So none of the wallets could send transactions. We had Jito in the wallet. And we had a 1 day spike of 600 users just downloading and using it so they could get a transaction to land. So that was where we were like, right, we're onto something here, and we can we can differentiate somehow. So it's worth continuing. This is where Adam came in. He went to me, yeah, Bill, we're not gonna get any motion with this developer bait. Like, we need a UI UX. And this takes us to what I said about separating technical things and achievements from actual business achievements. So I sat down, we spent, the second Colosseum, a month and a half, however long it is, locked myself in the house, 16-hour days, and we implemented distributed key generation and multi-party compute, in a decentralized way, from scratch, working on Solana. As far as I knew, the only other people that had done it were Cube. So we were like, this could work. We had not a very nice app, but it was in Go, and you had a UI UX. And, I'd put my heart and soul into this. And technically, this was about the same level as my PhD, right? It's high-level cryptography. And we finished it. We go down to Super Team UK. That's when we start meeting the guys. And we talked to Bonk Advisor, who are now some of our advisors. And Alex, I demoed the product to Alex. And, when you get feedback, everyone's nice. So, the DevRel said to us, look, it's good, but you need to work on the UI UX a bit. Alex just went to us, yeah, this isn't good enough. You need to do better, and just walked off. Which you'd think is bad, but on the other hand, I was like, that is just a very fair way of saying it when you look at it objectively, right? It's not my baby, but if someone else submitted it, I would have gone, yeah, it's not a consumer product, man. It's it's a good proof of concept. And that's the big difference between Adam and me, where if I didn't have a co-founder, I would have thought this is a solution, right? Because I wouldn't have anyone to break me out of that technical part and really have a proper chat with me. Because some people, when they give you feedback, they'll give you the feedback, but you have to layer it nicely. You can't just be a dick, basically. So that's where having co-founder comes in handy, especially when they're not technical. They get you out your bubble. And we kind of hit a plateau. So we came back for the third one. We'd entered, we got to know the guys here at Super Team UK. We'd done some demos, and we were just seeing it was unusable, right? I remember Hugh looking and going, this is cool, but I just can't use it, Bill. So, there we were right, are we going to keep on going with this? Because I was getting up to the limit of what I thought I could do. And the AI kept on improving. I learned more and more, self-skilling. You got to stay learning. And we ended up in that third Colosseum. So this would be a year and a couple of months ago.
May last year.
Yeah, so that one. And honestly, we put that entry together in 4 or 5 days.
Well, the apps.
The app, the finals. So we were sitting in London Build Station. It was around midnight, 5 days before submission, and we were looking at what we had on the screen. Adam just went, "This isn't going to work, Bill." So at that point, we kind of looked at it backwards, and this is why I would suggest now, if you have a product idea, try to reverse engineer your conditions for success, right? So we were going at it before as a hackathon and an engineering thing. What can I do? No, the question is, what does the customer need for this to be a success, right? And for us, that was, we need a UI UX that's going to be comparable with what people already use. So it has to be at that Phantom and Solflare level. Ledger Live, we have to beat it, but we can't just be the same. We have to be significantly better and what people know. And then we have to have something that's intuitive and simple to use, right? See how it's reversed completely from before. It was like, how can we get this cryptography and this technical stuff? Now it's different. It's what does the customer want? Yeah. And that's what informs your market and how you can pitch the company, right? Because VCs aren't technical. They don't care about what you've done. They want to see the market and the customers. So we got lucky. When I say lucky, Ore, which was the first ever Colosseum winner, they used a framework in Rust which allowed us to kind of meet these requirements that we needed. So we put together an app. Adam did a great job putting the presentation together and the pitch deck. And this was the first one that, like, when we came down and did a Super Team demo day, the London one, we were pitching to judges that we'd never met before. I don't think they were even that hardcore crypto people.
Yeah, like there was a mix.
Okay, a mix, but we didn't know anyone. So it was like 50 teams, and it was the first time in like a year and a half of product development when we demoed the product and you could see people nodding along. That was like the first time. It wasn't even the win. It was just a validation of now being able to show it to someone. They'd go, okay, yeah, I get this. I get this. And that was the bar, right? And that's what Adam drove us as a company to get there. And my job was to just, like, he doesn't care I've written an iPhone app in Rust, right? He just wants it to look good, right? That's end of the day, that's all that matters. So we got the honourable mention there. Some prize money came in, which really helped because we... Third place.
No. Oh yeah, for the breakout. But the demo day, you won.
Yeah, demo day we won.
You guys were first place at the demo day.
And like...
I remember the you let out when it was announced.
I mean, that was a year and a half of just grinding and not, like, bootstrapping and not having any recognition. That was kind of our first break. And then Colosseum came in, and now we've gone from, like, a bootstrap project to having runway and not having to stress. And I think at this point, Adam can take over the last bit to stop my ramble. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, at that point, we had the kind of the bare bones of it, but it needed to evolve into something better. And then Adam drove the final Colosseum one that we won. I just did the dev work. So it's... He deserves a chance to talk about that one.
I think ultimately, from a journey perspective, I think just because we entered all 4 hackathons, I think that the Colosseum team just saw that with every pitch that we were doing, it kept on getting better. So the products got better, the pitch got better, the traction got better, and they kept on seeing that we were entering to every single one. And I think the timing for the last one was just perfect. And like Bill said, for the first 2 ones, they were hackathon projects. And even for the third one, I'd still say it was like a hackathon project. Like Bill made the hardware by hand in his downstairs in his basement. And the app still was a lot better, but it still wasn't consumer ready. But we could start to see the outline or like the foundation of where we are now kind of starting to form. And like Bill said, when we went to Super Team UK demo day, it was the first time where I think is why Bill would like our reaction was like, I didn't think we were going to win. But I think we were just like finally that after so long, like a year and a half of kind of not really getting anywhere or like seeing like this little glimpse, but not getting anything. And then the demo day was, I think, the first time for us where we kind of were like, oh, okay, we have something here. The judges really liked it and we won. And then we came third place in the Colosseum Breakout Hackathon. And then we got a foundation grant. And it was like, things started to kind of snowball after Super Team UK demo day.
Join your local super team as well.
Yeah. And I think just if you go and look back at our first Colosseum submission, you can see the difference between our first one and our fourth one. And I think that will kind of give everyone a good idea who's entering into Colosseum. Just go look back at all of the winners or honorable mentions and look at what they did. But in terms of the last one that we won, I think so Bill and I remember saying to Bill, I was like, we should enter the Cypherpunk Hackathon, the fourth one. And Bill was like, bro, I can't do this anymore. Like, because the hackathons everyone knows here, like they are, we would lock ourselves in our bedrooms for 5 or our houses for 5 weeks. And, it's literally just like a lock-in and you have so much pressure and there's so many people entering. So I remember kind of saying to Bill, like, Bill, we really need to enter into this fourth hackathon. Like, I think this is a really good opportunity for us to because it's like, oh, well, we won. It's like, well, we won, but we didn't get picked for the accelerator. And that is ultimately what I think everyone's goal should be with Colosseum, is getting picked for the accelerator that gives you 250,000 funding. And yeah, the stars kind of, I think, just aligned as well. I heard that the Coliseum team were announcing the winners at Breakpoint, and I thought, as my marketing hat was on, and I was like, okay, well, that's even better, because now they're going to announce the winners on the main stage at Breakpoint, which is really good amplification. So I heard all these things, and I tried to keep on telling Bill, I was like, Bill, we really need to enter this competition. I have these visualizations of, us being announced or whatever, like we really should enter. So I kind of took the initiative, I guess, on doing our submission, and I just said to Bill, I was like, look, Bill, just let me do it, and you just do the dev stuff at the end, and that's kind of it. But I think the reason that we won the Grand Champions last time, and I think why it was just a better entry, is because we went from a hackathon project to an actual startup business, and I think that Coliseum could see that through our entry, and the way that our entries previously kind of evolved was, hey, we're a hackathon project, and then our last one was, we're a startup company now that's ready for pre-seed investment, and this is why you should choose us for the accelerator, because we can scale Unruggable to, whatever I said in the pitch. But I think that was the difference is, like Bill said, this is a startup competition. I know it has the hackathon name, but ultimately, it is a startup competition. I think that's where our Cypherpunk entry was the real difference for us. It was a real business at that point, and that's how we pitched it to them. So it all ended up working out in the end.
There's one thing I will add, and Adam gets the credit for this, is your timing around the hackathon entry is important. So Adam scheduled it really well, where we submitted and then we went live for pre-sales a week later with getting the correct amplification from the right people to Solana, etc., etc. That has an outsized impact, because when you have a good submission, but then you have provable traction, right? You can say whatever you want on the slides, but there's a difference when they can see a tweet and it's the only thing they see on their timelines for a week, compared to when you say to them, oh, we've got 5,000 users or however many email, whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. That was one of the really good tricks he did. And then the second one I'd say was, that hackathon was the first one where we compartmentalized the responsibilities, like fully. So in the previous, we'd work together on the pitch deck. On this one, it was, Bill, you've got the dev things to do. I will take care of everything else. I just need the pitch demo. And that's where a good co-founder comes in handy, because like we had this before, right? You'd kill yourself for a month, and then you'd get to the end, you'd just finish the dev, and you'd be like, shit, I need to do a pitch deck, and it needs to... You've done a month on the dev work, and you're going to do the pitch deck in a day. You're doing a disservice to yourself. Mm-hmm. But this time we had a pitch deck that you worked on, for a month? Yeah. With like the designer on board and making the branding and going through it, stress testing it, getting feedback on it. So those were the two things I think that really played a difference in that win. And yeah, take my hat off. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like hopefully very inspiring for anyone listening as well, of like how you can be able to go from the hackathon project into then the startup to then get the funding, and teamwork then was able to make that all possible. Mm-hmm. And together, that's where like why I wanted to start that conversation on like how you guys met each other, the story of coming in together, because that's what's so important, because you're able to get to this point where one sees one thing and the other one maybe doesn't see it yet, but you got to take those bets and trust each other. I was like, yes, no, okay, let's take the bet, and then if it works, it pays off dividends, and that's where we kind of see ourselves now. That it's paying off dividends. And how are you guys then feeling now? Like a few months afterwards, you've gone through the accelerator now, you had the demo day a few weeks ago for it, like, and how's everything all come together going, and what are you looking forward to this year?
Nothing's really changed. I mean, like, as in, what I mean by that though is like, you think, oh, you win and everything changes, and stuff does change, but ultimately you're still grinding away. We're still grinding away like we were 2 years ago. It's kind
job's
of
not finished.
This year's gone really well. I think for us, more so on just a personal and business level, like being in the accelerator and being allowed to go to San Francisco and working from there is like really good, because I'd say from an inspirational standpoint, like Bill's from Newcastle, I live in like a small town in the UK, and I think just being able to go and see these things has been on a personal level very inspirational. And then you can talk more on the product and if you want.
So I was going to say, when you asked, I'd say just more money, more problems, right? You hear that? No, whenever there's external investment coming in, the pressure increases. So the grind is still there, but there is more pressure on. And then with us as well, with the hardware, there's two aspects. So it's when we iterate, it has to be done. We have to factor in the logistics of it and so forth. The accelerator, what it really helped us with, it took away the pressure of staying alive as a business. So if you don't have funding, you are playing this game. And this is what I say when people ask about startups. If your bankroll goes to zero, that's it, the game's over, right? As long as you can stay alive, and again, we have a cockroach mentality, right? We've both been in crypto for so long. We've seen VCs come and go, and I'm still alive, like we're still doing better. So that was one of the priorities. It's like, right, with that coming in, what's this money coming in for? Because it's good to have, but there has to be a goal behind it. So I would say it took away the stress of how do we make things meet and can we deliver and get everything done. But also now you have more pressure, right? You've been given funding to deliver something. In our case, at least, we had a very binary decision to make. So our path in terms of hardware was very clear. Like the dev unit, we got really good reactions on how it looked at Breakpoint. People loved the aluminum design, but the follow-on question was secure elements, clear signing, and we just didn't have that, right? It's a dev unit. So having that feedback and knowing that, like we've heard this from probably 1,000 people at this point, right? We knew that, right, this money's coming in so we can focus on product development and get us competitive, which is a benefit that we have as a hardware company compared to other startups, right? If you're a software product and you've won the hackathon, now you've got the funding in, it's not like, oh, we're going to have to make a new hardware wallet. It's more so, how do we scale it? How do we grow? So we're a little bit different on that side, but the pressure's still there. Same thing with like the app. For us, it was, right, a lot of market research as well. And then the accelerator just helps in terms of connections and just showing you that there's potential, right? I'm not meeting VCs in Newcastle, or I'm not having chats with like billion-dollar protocol founders in Newcastle. In San Francisco, they just walk into the office and you chat. And having hardware, they'd come over and talk to us. So the accelerator's been like a really good experience. It's taken away that stress. It's obviously added stress in terms of product development, and then, you know, we've got to deliver, right? But yeah, I would wholeheartedly suggest it. It's the best opportunity you can get, I think, in the ecosystem at this point, and the Colosseum team are really good at what they do with helping like guide you. Yeah.
I love that. And so before we go to any questions from the audience, what's next? You know, like you guys are here, like.
Right. So at risk of getting told off, our primary goal is to ship these dev units, right? So I'm a big fan in startups of forcing functions. So deadlines or hackathon submissions, and I covered this when I talked to the Super Team Brazil guys, they force you to deliver, right? You know the deadline ahead of time, and there is no, you hold yourself accountable. Yeah. And the deadline forces you to get a pitch deck done. Like when we had demo day from Colosseum, right? It's very different when you're like, right, we're going to go and raise. You're going to do a raise. If you have a deadline though, with like demo day, we need this, then you know that by that date we need this done, polished and ready, and then you have your things ready to go. Yeah. In the same way, we got really lucky and we had a bulk order from Solana Policy Institute for the dev unit, and we took that on because it works as a forcing function, right? With, you know, whenever you do product development, you always have this battle in between perfect and good enough, right? There's always something that you could improve or do a bit better. So like on some of these, we've seen, we need to improve the finish on the device, and maybe that packaging isn't the best. We need to but with a deadline, you don't have that leeway, right? You have to make the best decision possible and hit that deadline, especially when it's a physical delivery, right? So we took that on to force a deadline for us, right? Yeah. With Colosseum coming in, obviously developing the new hardware wallet, which has the secure elements and the screen for clear signing. What you don't want to get caught is in this limbo of, right, product development, but also delivering the product. So we said, right, let's take on this deadline and we get all our ducks in order, right? We've got logistics, we have things coming from China, we have things coming from the US, we have things that we make in-house. We've got all line this up, get the timescales done and get the supply chains in. Doing that now has set us up to deliver the remaining, I think we've got like 800 dev unit orders, and thank you to everyone that bought one and supported us. So I want to ship these out in May. So we've got everything down in the like micro factory to start delivering them. We're just looking at improving the packaging a little bit because we think that consumer experience is really important for when you open something. And again, Adam's done a lot of market research against Apple and the big brands, and that first impression, I cannot stress this enough. Same with your hackathon, your pitch is everything. Mm-hmm. Those first 3-4 seconds of what the user sees are critical. Yeah. And that's what we've tried to like hammer down as much as we can. So ship the dev units in May. We got the prototype working. So the prototype has 2 secure elements. One of them is certified, the other one is fully open source. And it has a screen for full Solana clear signing for everything that you want.
Which is pretty impressive anyway.
Yeah.
Like you were saying before about like nobody's quite cracked it yet.
Yeah. So far, at least we think we've got the solution down. So it's off to be manufactured now for our first prototypes. And we're hoping to do some developer activation. So if you're a developer that would like to work on clear signing, we'll happily provide you the hardware to like give it a go as we iterate on the product. Our goal is to have the hardware wallet, like the finished one, certified, audited, ready to go at the same level as Ledger and Trezor for November at Breakpoint. We're lucky Breakpoint is in England this year. Logistically, huge for us, right? Just think like if we've got 2,000 things to orchestrate, having them all in the country is so much better. And it's easier to do an activation. Like for New York, I was flying with the suitcases, with the components. We were assembling them in San Francisco, flying across the US with like, you know, the orders. Yeah, the luggage got lost when we were flying across. Do not fly through Charles de Gaulle Airport. I do not recommend it. They will lose your luggage. But you've got to overcome these things, right? That's startup life, and it's what makes it interesting. So yeah, ship these dev units out this month. Product development, like I've crossed, there's no engineering hurdles left. We've got letters of intent from all our suppliers, which is really important for supply chains. We've got our manufacturers lined up. So now it's just figuring out how we scale it to not 100 units, but 2,000, 3,000 units. And then the app has been, again, this is why Colosseum is invaluable, right? When you're a bootstrap business, how it's so hard to find the money to pay a UI UX or do these things that you need to get your product consumer ready. Yeah. The accelerator enables you to do that. So we've got a UI UX studio in, we've revamped the app to make it, like I said, as good as Phantom and Slaughter, if not, hopefully a little bit better. I don't want to, again, Slaughter and Phantom do amazing work, right? And yeah, we stand on the shoulders of titans is how I describe it. So does that, I think, so far covers it. So yeah, hopefully come see us at Breakpoint. We'll have a very nice hardware wallet for you with a screen, clear signing on, secure elements, and a really nice app, and hopefully an in-person activation as well at Breakpoint. I don't know if Adam has anything to add.
Beautiful. There we go. Well, I want to open it to questions now. So who wants to take the first question?
Thanks, guys. That was really inspiring, and I think the duo has a real Jobs Wozniak energy to you that I think is super, super inspiring. My question to you, actually, it's to you, Adam. I think you guys have been building through an era. I feel like I asked this question in different words yesterday, but you've been building through an era that's like really evolved with AI and like lots of content, fake content, like and just like different kind of growth channels coming through. How do you kind of think about growth, brand building, and like go to market in the next like 5 years or like the next decade?
That's a good question. I think that branding and marketing is generally changing at the moment. Like if you look at X now, X is so different to what it was like 5 years ago. I kind of have my not hatred of X, but I think it's just kind of changed a lot, right? And now it's about, you know, X will show you something on that like you look at for, you know, a minute, and then the next 5 things that it shows you is that one thing. So the algorithm is changing, and I think people are trying to find new ways of doing go-to-markets and marketing on X, and generally with like Instagram, just because it's changing a lot, right? And the algorithm is always changing. It's not something that back in the day it kind of stuck and that was it, and then you figured out, right, this is the new algorithm, how do we do our marketing around this algorithm? Now it's changing every single week, and it's quite hard to keep up, and I think we're seeing a lot of different approaches to it. I think our approach is, I mean, my whole marketing approach to everything is build a good product. I think if you have a good product, then I think that does the marketing for you. So that's why we've been quite quiet on X recently, is to focus on building the product. We don't want to overhype anything. We want to just build it, make a good product, and then once we have that product that we feel is up to the standards of where we want it to be, then we can just let the product essentially do the marketing for itself. I say X is obviously our main focus as well. So I think with the specific niche that we're in, which is a very big niche of we're in crypto, and then we're in another niche of we're in Solana. I think X is just the best way of doing the marketing, I guess, from that perspective. So the honest answer is we're still figuring it out, because the algorithm's changing, and we also have the difference of hardware as well. So hardware marketing is very different than software marketing. I would say in a good way, because it allows you to actually show something physical. And people love physical stuff. Like, ultimately, sometimes it, just going on what you said, actually, people love really cool looking stuff. And that's one of the moats that we have as a hardware business is Bill can make this hardware wallet that, you know, does all of these great functions and does this and that and has all of these features. But if it doesn't look good, then no one's going to buy it, or no one's going to be as impressed with it initially. So that's one of the things that we've been doing, and it kind of brings into our marketing is not just making a product that works well, but also looks really good from a hardware perspective and from a software perspective, and kind of utilize that in our marketing a lot with the features on top of that.
Yeah, we've heard that before. I was just going to follow on to your question. One of my theories on marketing and growth is I think calls don't work anymore. So key opinion leaders, which is like last year's narrative where you pay them to tweet, it doesn't work. Paid ads don't work, at least in crypto. The only thing which I think has a future is basically binomial. So it'll either be slop, like rage bait slop that people will just, it's TikTok guys, right? Everyone, you should go out in London, everyone's fucking scrolling. So that far end, or then super high quality, like deep dives for people that know what they're looking for. And the last one is growth wise. I think the only thing you can really bet on is word of mouth. So it's what Adam said. If the product is good, then your only goal is to have people try it, and the conversion should happen after they try it. And then hopefully, if you've dealt, you know, with your customer or your user correctly, if someone asks me, oh, Bill, where do you trade perps? I will tell them where I trade perps and why I've chosen that venue. Oh, how do you do so? Oh, I use Unruggable. Oh, what's that? Oh, this. That is, I think, the only way of doing sustainable marketing. And with it being a physical product, it's also us coming to events and meeting people in person, giving out wallets for people to try and so forth. And that is a slight edge with the hardware. Again, positive and negative, right? You've got to carry the stuff and give it out and talk to people, but it does have a lasting impact, especially when it's free. So yeah, word of mouth and product, like Adam said. Yeah. Thank you for the question as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't wait to order the one that's coming out in November. Thanks so much.
Come see us in London at Breakpoint.
Definitely. Also try out, I want you guys to try out Sesto afterwards.
Always be selling. The hustle never stops.
My question was more so centered around the accelerator, or just more generally. I remember Adam saying that you guys like jumped into a bunch of Colosseum hacks already, and just overcoming that difficulty, going to the accelerator and overcoming those difficulties. Like, what are those difficulties like when you are building, when you are trying to maybe get in front of the right people, maybe trying to ship a product, maybe trying to make all ends get to the end, and how are you constantly like overcoming those difficulties?
I think the first thing I'll say is join your local super team and get to know people. So this isn't just a crypto thing. I think anything in life is your network or your reputation plays a big role. So like we've been in crypto for 2.5, 3 years, maybe more, but we've been with Super Team for 1.5 years now, since the second Colosseum. The first time we came down, it's been like 2 years nearly, right? So as a judge, right, they have people that can vouch for us and go, yep, the guys, we know who they are. They come down, they consistently, like there's been improvement. They can get a vouch from someone. Same thing with you. Like if you're a new builder, it's much better if you're entering and go, yep, the guy's new, right? But it's the first time he's trying Solana stuff. He's come down, we've met him, the idea's good, there's a background there. Compare that to just being an anon that submits a project without anything like to support you. You look at the judges' point of view, right? They get 1,500. This time it might be 2,000, right? It just grows. Cap has like 100 projects in his DMs, right? And if you really care about this, and this is going to be like an accelerator, and they're going to fund you, and you're going to do it full time, you'd expect the bare minimum would be coming down and being like, right, what can I do locally to improve my chances? One thing I say to Adam is that we never want to lose because we failed, right? There are things that are outside of your control. I can't go and influence the judges, right? But what I can do is give myself the best surface area or the best chances to win. So what does that mean? Lining up your marketing to go viral, go to your super team thing. If you're at Breakpoint, try and find the judges, right? I didn't know this. I found this out when we went to San Francisco. I actually was talking to 2 of the judges in Singapore at like 1 a.m. on a skyscraper. I didn't know they were the judges, right? I was just having a vent at them about how some of the winners he picked, they weren't the right ones, and I should have won, and this isn't even technical, but I didn't know this, but obviously they met me and they saw, right, the guy's flown halfway across the world to come to Singapore for Breakpoint. He has opinions, he can stand behind them. Okay, they didn't tell me they were the judges. So like they just kept that to themselves, and I would have done the same. But then they saw the submission. So it's building up that reputation for yourself, or at least doing the right things to put yourself in a position to succeed, right? Little things like super team bounties, right? When you go in to talk about yourself, it sounds much better if you can go in and go, I joined the ecosystem at the start of this year and I've won 2 super team bounties. You don't have to say what you won them for. One of them could have been the AI agent thing, but it means you have a super team profile. It can be verified, right? Those are little things. Integrations as well, or trying to build on top of a product and have the team support you. Is that kind of what you were looking for? And then, Adam, do you have any thoughts? I think then the other one I say is like professionalism. So like, make sure your links work. Like the judges have 1,500, 2,000 of these things. If they click on the link and it doesn't show, dead. If your video, like what you've uploaded, is too long and they have to wait, dead. It sounds so brutal, right? You get no feedback. But look at them. There's like 5 people and they've got 2,000 projects and they've got to make decisions with $3.5 million or however much it is. So they will allocate to things that come in with a warm intro. And then the last one is get in front of them on the timeline, right? They all live on Twitter. Follow them on Twitter, comment, retweet, push your product out, reply to them, try and get some users, see if you can get talk to Cap. If you have the product and Cap likes it, he might put in a reference for you if it's the right time. Again, you can't say to people like, oh, make me win. No one can do that for you, but you can set yourself up for the best chance of success. And I think those are like the soft skills where I'm bad at those. Like straight up, I'm horrible at it, right? I don't reply to people, I don't text. Adam takes care of that. But that makes such a difference in how the product's perceived. So that would be my advice. Try and apply a level of because again, these people will fund you with the expectation of you going and doing this full time. And how you deal with these little things is probably how you also will run the business. So everything, if your things that they see are on point, probably what you're doing internally is also on point. And then the last one, which I hate to say, is make sure that you have a rough idea of your legal, accounting, and regulatory standing, right? So like, if you're doing, we're going to tokenize gold in the UK, you're probably going to have a regulatory issue, right? So just be aware of where you stand on those things. Again, they don't expect you to know them, like to have a 100% answer, but you should have an idea, or you should be able to talk about your idea and how it correlates with the current environment and where you'd fit. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. No worries. Thank you for the question, man. Yes.
Hi, boys. Huge fan. I think you guys are quite unique because, yeah, you've got the hardware, you've got great products, but your marketing is also really good in that you wouldn't expect that your marketing is connected to a hardware wallet, And I think it's good because a lot of marketing is testing what works and what doesn't work. But from the outside, it seems like you got your marketing spot on from day one, it seems. So I'm just wondering, how much time did that actually take for you to figure out, no, this cute mascot is the right one for this type of technical hardware wallet? Or was it just an organic occurrence, or did you spend a lot of time iterating on that?
So the real reason for that is because at the time we didn't have the product ready. So it goes back to what I said is, we're going back like 2 years, right? When the app and the hardware was a USB stick and the app was like an ATM machine and it didn't look very good. So I was like, I can't really market this product directly because if I start tweeting out the hardware, no one's gonna really, it's not gonna get any engagement. No one's gonna really like it. It's a great little hackathon, like self-built thing, but in terms of like a consumer product, no one's gonna wanna buy it. So my whole thing was, okay, the product's being developed, so how do I do the marketing when I don't have the actual product to be able to develop? Especially with being a hardware product, you can't vibe code a hardware product. It takes months. It's taken us 2 years to get to this point. So my whole thing was, okay, how am I going to market this product when it essentially isn't ready yet? And that's where the frog mascot kind of came, and our designers also, that's what he does as well. Like, he's just very good at that. So we kind of played into that a lot. And that's literally just the reason, is it just the product wasn't ready at the time, and I think it was something that's very different. And I remember people saying to us like, oh, you don't look like a hardware wallet, and I was like, well, that's kind of the whole point. And I think what you'll see this year is probably a bit of a change now to more of like the actual product, like the hardware and the software with our marketing, because we've actually been developing it and it's nearly ready. So I think we're going to be transitioning to a bit more of the actual product and what the hardware looks like and what the app looks like. But yeah, that was the reason for the marketing. Is ultimately it was just how do we get really good engagement without actually having a finished product, and people really, and again it goes back to the high quality stuff. It was really high quality marketing, high quality graphics, and I know people think that posting AI slop is the best way now, but I really disagree. I think people always value high quality marketing, and I think they could tell that we would put effort into it. So yeah, it was kind of like a filler to not have to market the product, which was in production.
He's also being a bit unfair to himself, because when we first started, I remember he did a like market review of all the other hardware wallets, and the finding was that their marketing is really bad because they just talk about these niche security things that no one cares about. And Adam's initial idea was, right, we have this really hardcore technical product. The marketing should be the antithesis of it to entice people in. Because at the end of the day, and we say this again and again, we solve a UI UX problem, right? Ledger, Tropic, they have great secure elements. The hardware's done. It's the UI UX and using it that they do really badly. So Adam did a great job with that, just figuring out the brand and then slowly kind of moving us as we get, lining up the brand aesthetics, where before it was very anime themed. Now it's gone into more of an industrial engineering look. So it's like lining up and slowly transitioning there without, because you want to keep your identity, right? When you've got 2 years of it, like the frog has name recognition, same thing with the name. We go to place and people see the logo and they go, oh, it's you guys. So we want to keep that identity, but adjust it to what we are now. And I think if you do a product, obviously your product will grow. Your marketing has to grow alongside it, right? And then the one which I owe as a previous answer to the previous question, which I just realized now, is you've got to play to your strengths as well. So what Adam said, our artist was really good at that stuff. So it wouldn't make sense for us to try and push him to do this like super corporate, institutional style, because that's not what he's good at, right? And that's the other thing, in terms of teams, when you submit, make sure that you highlight why you are a good founder for it, right? So like, I think when I say to people, oh, I have a PhD, it sounds very pretentious, like you're trying to show off. Adam said to me, he's like, when we pitch, we have to lead off with that. They have to know you're qualified. You can't short sell yourself on this. So that's the other thing I'd say, don't be humble. If you're good at something and it links to your product, play that up as much as you can. That is the secret sauce, I would say, as well. So like Adam did the marketing, we pushed it to where the artist is good, playing to our strengths. You don't want to play off strength.
Yeah. I can just add as well, like what Bill said, it's I remember doing the marketing and I was like, how am I going to market a security product? Like that's a pretty boring thing to market and no one cares about that at the end of the day. So it was just an additional way of, number one, not having the product finished and having high quality things to post, and also because it's better than posting about security. And I think it was just a good seg. We want to make security kind of more fun and engaging, or focus on the different aspects of it rather than just have you secured this, and it's not as interesting. So that was also another reason why we did the marketing like that as well.
Yeah, thanks guys. Really well articulated the way you've gone through the whole fireside chat. So I'm looking to actually submit a agentic trading bot on Telegram, right? And obviously I can iterate that as much as I want, and people can get updates whenever they do want to. But for a product like yours, where like, how do you deal with the iteration of your products, like the physical product, and then like having to sell that to users as well? Like, how do you deal with that? Because you can't continuously like change a actual physical product, right?
So I have a concept of what I call a one-way door. So when there are certain actions that once you take them, you cannot take them back. An airdrop, a incentivization program, a supporting something else, right? One of the big, like we mentioned this in the pitches, and Adam does a great job with it, is Ledger and Trezor and the existing hardware wallets. They've committed to supporting 150 blockchains. They can't now take that back, right? Because if they do, they're going to have unhappy customers, and it's just going to deteriorate. So you have to look at if I'm going to make an irreversible change, is that the right thing? Everything that's not irreversible is just iteration. So like, you want to try a new feature, go for it. As long as it doesn't create an irreversible change in what you're doing or how it's perceived, you're fine. Just keep on iterating. If anything, what we've heard this from a lot of people, you've got to just throw different things at the wall and see what sticks, right? It might be that limit orders or automatic sell orders on a 5% red candle are your unique edge, and that's what get you users. But until you try it, you won't know. So I would try and like characterize decisions between those two things. So for us, an irreversible decision was going to market, being like, look, you can pay for this and we will take your money and deliver it. The moment I take your money, I've created an irreversible situation, right? Whatever happens, we can never go back to that previous state, because either I have to refund you, which is kind of going back, but the customer's not going to be happy, or I have to deliver and everything goes well. But there is no taking it back. Same thing with like the hardware, like with this iteration. We put a forcing function in because we were getting to the point where it was like these little niggly things were keeping us from finalizing it, and putting in a forcing function helps eliminate the distractions. So yeah, I think that would be. Do you want to repeat the question again? Because I feel I've got a little bit off tangent as well.
Nah, you answered the question perfectly, but I was more so talking from your standpoint. Obviously, you have your product, your physical product. So when you're making, let's say, another version of physical product, you have to sell that to a new set of users, right? So how do you deal with that, like almost a funnel? I guess it's probably not even a question for a hackathon. It's mostly like a business-related question, but how would you deal with that?
So, in my opinion, it comes down to, with us physically, like with a physical product, I have the benefit of having the engineering knowledge and knowing what it takes. So a lot of the hurdle was getting past, like, making a prototype isn't hard, right? Prototypes are easy. Going from prototype to something in production or scaling, that's a really hard part. Because I can get one chip from here, I can get wherever I want. Getting 2,000 of them, all quality control, and that's the hard part. For us, it's been very conscious, as in, it's what I said, we reverse engineered what we need to deliver. We know that, right? The dev unit will show people the UI UX. It won't give them the security they need, but it will demonstrate to them that this is how the product works and this is how it enables it or makes my life easy. The next version is, we know that, we had a chat, like, again, one thing I will suggest is talk with people that have niche knowledge more than you do, right? So I might have a PhD, but I'm not a cryptographer, right? Today I had a chance to talk with someone who's probably running one of the world's best cryptography companies, right? And I run them through what we do and I get feedback from his point of view. Same thing with the guys who make the chips. Their engineer, he gives us feedback, CEOs. Getting that feedback from disconnected parties that don't owe you anything and will tell you how it is a really good way to see, are you on the right track? And then again, once you have the base there and you know what you have to deliver, you can kind of checklist it. And we know that, like, this is what we were talking upstairs, I don't want to do firmware updates. And this is basically where it comes down to for us. We will ship like the finished product and then we will never be able to remotely update, etc. We know that if we need to do a new one, we have to do a new product, right? I can't go more into it because some things I'll get told off if I say. So I'm sorry for giving like a nearly finished answer. There is a little bit more. I would say the last thing, and I'll say it as nicely as I can, is treat yourself, put yourself in the customer's position, right? If I was a customer, what would I be happy with? And I think that's what a lot of founders forget, that the protocol gets too big and they look at what do your users want? What would make your users happy? That should be the priority on that decision.
Sorry, did anyone else have a... Okay. Hardware is a really good moat. You know, you guys have secured like supply chains and stuff for like the intermediate term production. So I'm just curious, like, when you view the next kind of, like, what is your vision for Unruggable based on the evolution of the industry and all of that? What's your vision for where you see Unruggable headed in the next 5 years?
So, do you want to... I think we think the first thing we need to solve is the self-custody UI UX. So like, this is what we've aimed to do in November. The 5-year plan, I think, again, being a wallet interface gives you certain advantages where you can obviously add things in. So if we see that perps are the new thing, we can obviously put perps in. My personal view on it and what we think is the future is banking. So virtual named USD accounts. What the vision I have for us is being able to go from an Unruggable hardware wallet to a bank account where you have money in your bank account that you can spend, not with a crypto card, Cap, No, bro, no, but like, no, I think at least the way I do, at least the way I deal with my crypto, I like having things very clearly defined for tax reasons. So I want to be able to offboard myself without having to rely on a centralized exchange. I would like to be able to have, not to be censored by Coinbase or Kraken if they think that, oh, this has got. That is where I see the vision of like offering people self-custody that they can then withdraw straight to their bank account without the intermediaries. That's one of the things. The other one is maybe automations. So being able to have persistence, and obviously with a device you can leave them plugged in, they can run persistently. And iterating on the UI UX and seeing what users want. That is, I think, ultimately what you should be prioritizing, right? You get your first 1,000 users, hopefully, or your first 100, and you start looking at what they're liking and what they want more of. And sometimes you've got to just say the users know better than me. So it could be that they don't want more things, right? It could be recovery is another one, right? Recovery is something we haven't touched. We've seen Ledger kind of get into it this year with like allowing for recovery. I had a really good chat today with like the crypto guys upstairs about recovery. So that could be something we go into as a service. There's also the institutional aspect, right? So far you've heard us talk just about users and retail and consumer. Institutions are a massive market. And again, for institutions, you need certifications, you need audits, etc., which we're not at that point yet. But that's on the timeline. Like by November, we should be fully audited, certified, and we should be ready for an institutional client to be able to do the due diligence, go, yep, this is as good as everything else on the market, if not better for what we want. And then AI protection. Again, I think with Mythos and the AI models getting better and better, we've seen the DeFi hacks, we've seen this plethora of them. I think having physical air gap devices is just inherently what we're going to have to end up going to as AI gets better and better. Yeah, I think that would be it. And then again, we're an engineering company, so you never know. Ideas come, and if they're good enough, it's worth pursuing. So yeah.
Amazing. Can I get a big round of applause for Bill and Adam? Thank you, guys. There you go. That's a wrap. Congrats on Ruggable.
Thank you for having us on Cap. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good luck to everyone submitting at Coliseum. Again, like I said, please join your local super team.
We'll also be doing
get
a
the best
roast a
support
little bit
possible.
later on,
Thank you for
so
having us on
you get a
Cap.
chance to get some feedback from these guys if you want to be able to pitch a product.